Hey everyone, great to see all of you again. Today I'm going to be reviewing these. These are TP-Link's smart light switches. Today I'll be talking about three of them. The HS200 smart light switch, the HS220 dimmer light switch, and the KS200M motion sensing light switch. Now I've had some of these light switches installed in my place for 6 months to over a couple of years now. So I'm in a pretty good position to tell you the things I like about them and the things that I don't like about them. So for today's video, we're going to talk about the installation, features, and of course, I'm going to be sharing my final thoughts. Let's start off with the installation and setup. This is going to be the same for all three light switches. Now before you even think about installing these light switches, you need to make sure you have a neutral wire and a strong 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi connection. Without a neutral wire, these light switches will absolutely not work. Like I said earlier, in terms of internet, these light switches only operate on a 2.4 GHz network. To make sure you have a seamless experience, make sure you have a decently strong Wi-Fi signal. Otherwise, you're going to find that there might be some delays or lost connections for your light switches. Alright, now when it comes to installation, it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty much plug and play. In terms of tools you'll need for the installation, you're going to need a screwdriver and a voltage tester. The first step is to locate your breaker and turn off all power to your light switch. Next, use your voltage tester to make sure that there's no power going into the lines at all. Once you've confirmed that the power is off, you can then start the process of removing the power lines from your old light switch. If you already have TP-Link's app installed, they also have a tutorial that walks you through the whole installation process. Now I have to say this for this video, if your electrical lines look nothing like what you see in the app and you're unsure of what each line does, which are connected to your light switch, I'd suggest calling an electrician just to be safe. On the other hand, if you're comfortable diving in and you want to make sure you don't forget which line is which, TP-Link does include some sticker labels in the box. On the back of the switch, you'll see that TP-Link has labeled all of their wires so that you know where to make the connections. Once you've made all the connections, you can turn on the breaker and see if the light switch lights up. If you see that the light switch is blinking orange and green, then you're good to go. Alright, on to the setup. Once the installation is done, you're going to need the TP-Link Casa app in order to set up the light switches. Once you've installed the app and set up an account, you can begin adding the light switches. This is where the app will ask you to connect to a 2.4 GHz network in order to set the light switches up. Alright, now that we have all the light switches set up, we can talk about their similarities. Now because the HS200, HS220, and KS200M are all smart light switches, this means that their best features outside of their hardware are all software related. This means that these light switches actually have more in common than they do differences. So let's deep dive into TP-Link's Casa application. At the time of this video, this app is only compatible with iOS as well as Android. If you look at the bottom of the app there, along the bottom, you'll see that there are 4 main features. This includes schedule, timer, and away. Let's start off by talking about schedule. Like the name states, this is where you can schedule the time and day that you want the light switch to turn on and off. I love using this feature to turn on and off the lights based on when I'd like to wake up or have the lights turn on when I'm coming home from work. Next is the timer. The timer is where you can set the light switch to turn off after a desired amount of time. Now this one, in all of my time with these light switches, I haven't quite found a scenario where I felt the need to use the timer. If you do have an idea where or when I'd use this timer, let me know in the comment section below. Next is the away function. Away is a security feature that turns the lights on and off randomly within a specific time frame. For someone looking in from the outside, this feature is supposed to make it look like someone's actually at home. Now I actually really love this feature. If I'm away on vacation or I'm out for the weekend, I can turn on this feature and it gives me a sense of security. Now it's not quite a feature, but another thing that all of these light switches have in common is their LED indicators. All of the light switches have an LED indicator which is used for pairing and to indicate if they're connected to the internet. Outside of this, the LED is a solid white color indicating normal operation. But if you're like me and you have this light switch in your bedroom, this white LED can actually be distracting when you're trying to sleep at night. Thankfully, through the app, you can actually turn off all the LED indicators so that your light switches don't light up. Now, since these are smart devices, they wouldn't be complete without being able to control them with your smart assistants. The TP-Link light switches can be controlled with Android Assistant, Apple Siri, and Amazon Alexa. So that's where all of these light switches are similar. Now let's talk about where they're different. Let's start off with the HS200. Now the HS200 here is the most basic of the smart light switches. By basic, what I mean is that there's no motion sensor or dimmer functions. It's straight up a smart light switch replacement. So I've had the HS200 the longest and have been very happy with it. This is actually the first light switch that I got from TP-Link. The only differences that users will notice with this light switch is that there's no actual flipping of the light switch. The light switch is closer to a button. It has a spring-loaded mechanism. That means that you press it down in order to turn lights on and off. At first, this took some time for me to get used to it, but now I don't even notice it. Okay, let's move on to the HS220. Now the HS220 is similar to the HS200, but it does have additional buttons for the dimmer features. These buttons are found on the top of the light switch, and there's a dedicated button to increase or decrease the light brightness. Now within the app, you also have the ability to set presets for the brightness of the light switch. So having this light switch, it might just be my light bulbs or my light fixture, but the dimmer function doesn't quite get my lights dim enough. Even at 1%, my lights are bright enough to light up my entire room. For those of you with the HS220 or are planning to install the HS220, let me know in the comments how dim the lights actually get when you dim them down to 1%. Alright, time to talk about the newest light switch in my house here, and that is the KS200M. The KS200M is a motion sensor light switch. So far, I love this light switch. In the app, you can actually set the sensitivity of the motion sensor by selecting close, medium, or far. A feature that I love on this light switch is the ability to set the time and day that the motion sensor is activated. For example, I have this light switch installed right outside of my room. Now, if I had a traditional motion sensor that wasn't smart, if I were to move or get up in the middle of the night, the motion sensor is going to go off and light up my entire place. But with the KS200M, through the app, I can set when the motion sensor is active. So for me, I actually have the motion sensor turned off between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. If I get up in the middle of the night or I'm tossing and turning in my bed, I won't set off the motion sensor and I won't set off any lights. Alright, time for my final thoughts. I love these light switches, and as a smart home user, I love being able to control these light switches using my assistant and on my phone. The ability to schedule these lights turning on and off are a great way for me to wake up in the morning, and like I said earlier, are a nice welcome home when I'm coming back from work. Likewise, I also really like the away function. This is one of my favorite features that gives me a peace of mind when I'm not home. Now, when it comes to price, in Canada here, during the holiday season, I was able to get the HS200, that basic light switch, for about $15. I got the HS220 for $22, and I got the KS200M for $25. Now, depending on your budget, these may be a buy or not. Personally, I wanted to replace all the lights in my apartment to smart lights. With a single smart bulb costing an average of $10 Canadian and some of my light fixtures holding 2 to 3 bulbs, going with TP-Link's smart light switches made the most sense economically. Well, that's all for today, everyone. What do you think about these smart light switches? Do you think they're worth it? Or do you have another brand that you think is even better? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, you can let me know by smashing that like button below. Or, if you love this video, you can hit subscribe and you can see all the other videos that I have on this channel. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.